Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 9 of the RaceKraft V8 Veterans Championship here at Algarve, or more commonly known as Portimão. My name's Brant, and alongside me this evening we have Dan. Dan, fill us in. What's been going on? I've been away for a couple of weeks. Very much looking forward to tonight's race at a new track. More a sprint kind of race tonight with that 150-kilometre race due to the iRacing maintenance. So should be an entertaining night, and very much looking forward to it. Good to be back.
Yeah, good to have you back as well, Brand. I mean, yeah, last couple of weeks have been a couple of interesting moments here and there, but it has mostly been the Scott Gamble show up the front of the order when push came to shove so far in this season. So that'll be one to watch out for tonight if you can keep that up, because he's looking in a very great spot, all things considered. But yes, new circuit to iRacing as of this season here, the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve, or as you said, otherwise known as Portimão, based on the town that is nearby. But we're down here right in basically the south of Portugal on this Iberian Peninsula. And yeah, going to be an absolutely fascinating race we've got coming up here. Not a track that necessarily I'd associate with these kinds of cars. It's very much was built to attract a Portuguese Formula 1 Grand Prix, which the circuit got its chance to host during 2020 and 2021, thanks to all of the COVID disruptions. Some other stuff about the circuit. I mean, I saw this exact layout racing last night, but Super Formula Lights with the F8 Championship that was here on SimSpeed last night, Brant. And obviously those kind of cars, a lot more planted, a lot more steady. But this circuit here, I mean, that middle sector is going to be, but also we've got pretty high speed running into turn 1. That'll be something to watch out for in these cars tonight, even though it is a sort of a mid-speed right-hander there. But yeah, opening sector all about setting up for that hairpin at turn 3. Middle sector is going to be about the turn 5 hairpin, as well as up into say turn 8, but then also up over the hill, not 10 and 11. Going to be interesting to watch there as well, I'd have to say. But yeah, going to be an interesting one here, and a shorter race, as you said, than originally planned. But we'll talk about that in just a little bit here.
Exactly right. This circuit, that turn 1 especially, it draws you in. You want to go deeper, you want to go faster, but it's incredibly easy to get that off track. And if you run out wide enough, you actually get an iRacing slowdown as well. So the boys are going to have to be very careful how hard they push into that turn 1, especially in these V8 supercars where, well, let's be real, downforce doesn't really exist. Especially through that middle sector as well, and coming down from turn 13 up into that tricky double apex corner in turn 14 before the long run, down into that sweeping final left-hander in turn 15, then down that front straight to repeat the shenanigans all over again. So lots of prime moves, lots of prime opportunity for overtakes. So should be a good race. But yeah, these supercars around this high downforce circuit is going to be, yeah, one to really watch, I think.
I mean, also the thing is, I was doing some reading up, trying to get like information on the track length around here, because there's various layouts here at Algarve. They claim 32 configurations exist here at this circuit, in between things like you can see there on the track map, that alternate chicane in just after turn 1, make it basically a 1, 2, 3 rather than 1 and 2. The motorbike layout with the earlier hairpin down at Torre VIP for turn 5, it brings it in closer. But also chuck in a couple other bits and pieces on this circuit in terms of yeah, apparently alternates. Apparently all adds up very quickly around this circuit. Let's now talk about our racing here tonight on this Grand Prix configuration of the course. And it's going to be 33 laps to get us just over 150 kilometers of racing. We were scheduled to run a 250-kilometer race around this place, which would have been yeah, have a quick run here, because I actually didn't run the numbers in my for myself before we got going. Would have been around 54 laps to make that work. So that is we've chopped off a good 20-odd laps to make this one work, thanks to that 1 hour time limit we have to observe tonight. Critically for the drivers who are considering championship and points and whatnot, 25 laps must be completed to score, thanks to that 75% classification rule here tonight. Short race also means starting with just 50 litres of fuel, as we usually see in these ones here, Brant. So going to be about, yeah, well, literally just under half a tank to start these ones off. I still got that full tank available in the refuel, but thanks to short race format and relatively economical fuel burn, apparently, for a circuit of this this length, interestingly. They're not going to need a whole lot of fuel. I need to add between 72 and 76 litres to make it home tonight, depending on what exactly their fuel burn is going to be. And it means that our strategy chart, well, we can probably knock off that early stop strategy unless drivers get themselves caught up in trouble early on, because as you can see, you can run about 13 laps on the starting fuel, maybe 14 if you're fuel saving aggressively, and then you don't have to add a huge amount. It's two pretty short stops to get home here tonight.
The other thing to consider may potentially have to be tyres. When I ran around here in the GTP, it was a significant difference as to how much new tyres actually made. So that's also a possibility as well. I mean, the red strategy there, Dan, the early stop strategy would just, you'd absolutely shatter your tyres, you know, doing 29 laps on one set of those Dunlop tyres. So be interesting to see what they do. They may just decide that they can run them the entire time, but it is very much, you know, it's very mid-speed track with a lot of flowing corners, so those tyres do cop an absolute beating around here. So something to be cognizant of for the guys out there as well.
Yeah, it will be indeed. So we'll see how drivers work out. Obviously, those even-ish or thereabout strategies have been very dominant in this season so far, where the drivers look to save some fuel over the course of the race as well to maybe shorten up stops that way, given you got that massive long front straight, and even through the mid part of the lap where you're building speed, just rolling into the turns a bit might be interesting to watch out for. The big thing here, it's obviously with the circuit as well, is with that long final turn, you're building speed into that section of the track. It does mean that it's a very costly pit speed. The time lost coming down the pit lane is nasty. 60 km/h pit speed limit, you're looking at over 30 seconds lost just to transit down the pit lane and momentarily stop in your box. So keep that in mind out there as well, which it'll take drivers a while to get back the time they lose from pitting. But that's enough talk about the racing tonight, at least what we're expecting it to be tonight. Brent, let's talk about where we're coming from in terms of the championship standings. And as I've been saying, it's been the Scott Gamble show for several weeks now. In fact, I think if I've got this completely right, he's only lost one race this season due to a post-race points penalty. So he's looking pretty healthy there on top. At a 43-point margin, you have to finish, I think, somewhere like 15th or even down towards the 20s to be threatened by Ken Latta at this stage on points. But crucially, you've got to see there, Chris Miller and Michael Whiting, Fishy Motorsport teammates, they're going to fight out for P3 by the looks of things there, with 1 point separating them. You've also got, I think there was that 5 points there. Oh, sorry, it's 8 points separating Dan Hall and Paul Warwick. So the ERT 462 versus the Fishy Motorsports 050. Watch out for maybe that to be something conditions as well. But also critically, Chris Smart, late season charge, might threaten for a top 5 there as well, coming up to 7th with 5 places gained after the results last time out. Last week, pardon me, we were racing a complete blank as to where we were racing last week. That's a really good job by me there. Brant, it was Suzuka, of course. That's where we were last week out.
Yeah, absolutely domination so far this season by Scott. However, Fishy are not short of cars there, I think, with 7 or 6 rather in the top 10. So Fishy very well presented, but yeah, it's very much looking like Scott's going to be pretty unbeatable unless something way out of the blue were to occur for the next couple of rounds. That battle, like you said, between Chris and Michael, that's going to be one to really, really watch as well. Same with Dan and Paul. Likewise for Chris and Matt as well. So very close battles all the way down the top, all the way down that, basically from 2nd through to 10th. But yeah, Scott's just got a nice buffer. Scott and Ken have a nice buffer between themselves from the rest of the field. So pretty much as we saw the season start, looks like how the season has unfolded at the moment, Dan.
Yeah, it has. Still 2 races to go. This is our final round that can be dropped for those who have a rough one out tonight, so that might shake things up. But speaking of shaking things up, let's have a look here at the drivers fighting to stay in the top 20, and those who are looking to try and get up into the top 20 to be invited back for season number 20 in the middle part of this year. We should start up in about a month or so's time, based on how things are going. It's currently David Nash who holds that P20 spot. He's only got, though, 10 points. If he can find 10 points in Jerry Knight, he jumps up 1 more spot and maybe gets himself into a slightly more secure spot inside the 20. But he's only got 6 points ahead of Michael Stewart. That's 3 positions in the mid-pack. all things considered. So he's got to be careful of that when it comes down to trying to find himself or fight for these positions in the 20. That will be one to watch out for over the course of the evening. And with that, I think we'll turn to our grid now here, Brant. Just keep an eye on our championship top 10. Keep an eye on them, but also keep an eye on some of these drivers here. I think Scott McCune, Jay McKnight, David Nash, Michael Stewart, maybe Troy Stone Street. Keep an eye out for them, given they're all fairly close on points. But warm-up's just coming to a close. It's time to head to the grid here and see how they're going to line up. And once again, Scott Gamble delivering a masterclass in qualifying. It seems pulling 3/10 on the rest of the field here tonight, but he does get himself Jeff Thomas to share that front row. So another good qualifying for the JWM SimSports 43 machine. We'll see how that race plays out for him. Ken Lanner, not too far behind there in P3. He's got himself Michael Whiting teammate sharing that second row with him here this evening to kick things off. In behind, Troy Stone Street, one of his best qualifying results of the season. He's going to start out of 5th place, sharing row 3 with Matt Vandercry. Another good qualifying for the Angry Birds 180. With Chris Smart there out of 7th with Dean Flavel alongside him. Another strong result for Dean when it comes to the 1 lap pace as well here, as the gaps start growing relative to Scott Gamble. Now, top 10 going to be rounded out, though, by Damien Cairns and Michael Stewart. In fact, comparing to Dean Flavel's time, they are awfully close together here, bunched up around this part of the field, Brad.
As we move outside our top 10, we then move to 11th with the 801 Sim Racing David Nash in P11. And the top 12 separated by a second with Jason Fewen starting the 067 machine in P12. Dave Kirby from Fishy Motorsports and Chris Miller bring up row 7 in P13 and P14 respectively. Robbie Griffiths and Scott McCune. Good to see the Hypersonic Motorsport or Hypersonic Racing car up there in P16. These times are still incredibly close there, with only 0.06 separating those two cars in 15th and 16th. Chad Lewis from ERT, a bit further down the grid than what we traditionally see here in the 727, and Christopher Blanchard in P18. Rounding out our top 20 is Dan Hall from ERT. Again, probably going to be a little bit disappointed with that start and a bit further down from where we've seen him. And Tim Nicol from Quantum Peakies Racing in P19 and P20.
Outside the 20, getting to the back half of the field, it's going to be Rick Vigor for Angry Birds Racing, the 014 Mustang, sharing that 11th row with Damon Fisher next to our Quantum Peggy's Racing Machines there, the 505. With Luke Rundell, we haven't seen him in so many weeks. Good to see the 057 back on the grid after a really strong outing. In fact, it was the season opener back at Laguna Seca, but he's now back here in 23rd, sharing the 12th row with Paul Burns there. Next row is going to be Ricky Hyde and Stephen Varga in the 802 and 868 cars, respectively there. 27th and 28th going to go to Mark Poynter and Rob Christoph for an all Frog League juiced Racing row number 14. Our top 30 going to be rounded out by Jay McKnight and Stewie Hall there in the 027 and 49 machines. And then our last two cars are qualified tonight, Michael Quain and Darren Goosey here on the 16th row with Travis Hunt in the number 32 for JWM SimSports, the last car on the grid there, Brant. That'll do us as we're waiting on the countdown to wrap up here in session, but a little look here at the front of the guys on Zoom tonight that we'll be checking out across the course of the evening. Travis Hunt there, top left of your screens. He's alongside Dean Flavel here on the gallery. Jeff Thomas and David Kirby there in the middle. We're actually going to have a chance to chat to Dave Kirby during the race. He's offered to speak with us live as the race is on. Michael Stewart and Jason Fewen's also joining us there on the Zoom tonight. We'll check in with all of those drivers as we're not too far away from taking the green flag here, Brant. It's time to get ready for the racing action from Portimão. Revs are up, and we're going to get our green flag from Barney on the stands, and we're away for round number 9 of the RaceKraft Simulations V8 Vets Championship, and it's going to be a shocker from Jeff Thomas as they all streak turn 1. Scott Gamble will get to the front, and Ken Lanner slots into P2 as they make their way through this sweeping right-hander, and it's 2-3 wide in the mid-pack. It looks like we're going to get through okay, I think. But up front, it's going to be Scott Gamble as he leads them through turns 3 and gets to this opening sector. Clean so far into the hairpin as we now watch to see big checkups. That's Travis Hunt, I think, bombing 4 wide down the turn 3 hairpin. Bit of contact on the exit of the turn there, but it looks like they're going to get through okay here in this opening lap of the race for the first half at least, though. Early days.
Yeah, early days indeed. Good to see that everyone pretty much got through that first opening stanza relatively unscathed as we start to climb back up the hill under the Portimão sign there. We see Scott and both Ken starting to try to build that little bit of a gap yet more undulation changes. This track just doesn't stop with these undulation changes. It's like a roller coaster. It's phenomenal to drive on. Up here through this tricky double apex in... Sorry, no, that's not turn 14. That's my apologies. We're coming up to turn 14 momentarily, I believe. Scott still maintaining the status quo. Ken following closely behind. The field slowly starting to have some gaps start to develop there. And you can see just how wide this track is, Dan. It's incredibly wide for those high-speed Formula cars as we come out of down through turn 15 now. Oh, a bit of a wiggle there for Jeff in the 43 JWM Sim Sports car. Keeps it straight, but will lose a little bit of momentum, which may make him susceptible to an overtake down here at the end of the front straight as we complete lap 1 of 33.
Oh man, Jeff Thomas down 6 spots to open this race as well. Damien Kenzie in behind is going to roll out as we make the run to turn number 1 at speed, well, full speed. So as you can see here, also the big thing is going to be leaning on those left side tyres for turn 1. Not trying to run it in too hot, but definitely a rough start to the race here for Jeff Thomas to be on the front row in qualifying, but then only end up now buried down in the middle of the top 10. In fact, he's threatening to drop outside the 10 at this stage, but he'll press on there, try and settle in now after big old 11s off his starting grid, and try to threaten the outside Dean Flavel into turn 5. That's not going to work out for him at this stage though, and he'll have to settle back in line as there's a bit of scrapping further on back. Chris Blanchard is going down the order something fierce in the 669 machine, and oh dear, that is not where he wants to be. Damaged and now parked up at turn 5. I think we have to go to our first RaceKraft replay of the race, and unfortunately that's not looking too healthy for the WKMP machine.
Significant damage on the front of that car there, unfortunately for Chris. That's not the way he'd want this race to end, but he's got it moving. He hasn't caused a safety car yet, so that's what we want to see.
Got Luke Rundell to his inside, but Ricky Hyde with the lunge. Although, from that angle there, looks like he's been clipped at the back. Let's go back one more time here and just so we can get a different angle on this one. We'll look actually top down with a chasing drone. So Grundell up the inside. Oh dear, don't tell me. Oh, actually, yeah, okay. The internet gods have done him no favours. But he has turned down well, not so much he's turned down, but more the fact, of course, that Ricky Hyde with the lunge up the inside there in the 802 machine forced Grundell to keep the door open on the inside there. That's according to my timing displays. Jeremy Knight's had a bit of trouble somewhere down the order in the 027 machine. In fact, there he is behind the recovering Chris Blanchard as they come on at the front straight. So trouble now for the 027 machine, who therefore loses a couple of spots. Currently runs 32nd and, well, not quite last, sorry, because that's going to go to Rob Christelle coming into the pit lane in the 808 machine for Frog Leap Juice Racing. Darren Goosey, a pit lane starter tonight. Look how far back that puts him in the old mate and Sons 186, unfortunately.
Yeah. As you said, Dan, it's such a long trundle time down this pit lane, and with the field moving away at such a rapid rate of knots, unfortunately for Dan, that's just left him for dead down there. But as we see, and as we've seen all season, got Gamble starting to stretch his legs. He's got over a second margin. Ken Latta has 0.6, and then Michael Wadding has 1.6 seconds back to Matt. So these top 4 cars really starting to stretch their legs, starting to build these nice gaps. And the top 3 have really just kind of sprinted away from those behind them. They've got a solid little gap. Good battle here for second between Michael and between Ken and Michael there for P2. Other than those couple of incidents, the relatively clean start for the first 3 laps of this race, which is exactly what we wanted to see. I anticipated these cars to be moving around a little bit more than what they are, but they seem to be fairly planted, which is probably making life quite easy for these guys as we come down the main straight to start lap 4 of 33 as we dive down into turn 1. This very short, sharp descent down into turn 1, this awkward right-hander. As we see Jeff making a move up the inside of the Super Cheap Auto car and gets it done. The Super Cheap car will probably lose 2 spots here. Can he hold it around the outside?
Oh, hang on 1 second.
Oh,
Chris Blanchard just called in a tow. Is the engine gone? The engine is off on the WKMP 669, so he's in the roll at turn 14. But the biggest problem here obviously going to be he's got to get up and over the crest in the final corner here for that car to be able to get back to the pit lane and avoid needing a full tow request, as we've got dueling in the mid-pack. This is around actually the top 10 fight here. Michael Stewart fending off Jason Fewens here at the moment. If it actually, yep, had to fend him off, get back to P10. They're all coming up on Blanchard now. He's off the track there for a second. But where's Scott Gamble? Here he is, already coming down through, I think, 10 and 11. Chris Blanchard still on the roll in the middle of turn 15. This is going to be a concern here. Let's go up here. So there's Blanchard.
He's not going to make it up that hill. No way will he make it up that hill to go into pit lane with such little speed. He's got to be really careful because he's on the racing line, and this is a very, very, very fast corner, this. Is he going to make it up? Maybe. I'll be happy to be proven wrong here.
The big problem is he going to block pit entry, technically speaking. Current speed on board the 669. He's going to roll. He might just roll it down the lane, at least get to a point where they can say he can tow down the lane at this point. So, safety car averted here on the end of lap 4.
Not the roll that Blanchard would have hoped that he was on, that's for sure. As we refocus our attention back up the front here to the 999, the 044 and the 43. A nice little battle starting to brew here. And there's a nice little battle behind them as well, another 5-car battle as well. So the lead is now under a second too, and Ken's actually pulled 1.3 seconds on Michael as well. So Ken might be just trying and sit behind Scott. He's in that slipstream, in that draft range as well, and try and conserve that fuel, as you mentioned, Dan. And that battle for 8th goes from 8th all the way down to 17th. To say that's a monumental battle pack is an understatement.
It is a massive old lineup of drivers here, and at the front of the train, Dean Flavelle is the man who currently heads it all up. Let's have a quick look here, because Dean Flavelle once again providing us with his current vital statistics, which actually you might have missed, as Dean actually had this with us once upon a time, and he's brought it back for us, it seems, in the last couple of weeks here on the broadcast. So that there, Dean Flavelle, his current heart rate, and apparently a stress level meter as well. Looking at it looks like at this point in time, he is definitely upbeat, to say the least. He usually has that heart rate resting down closer to 100 BPM, but right now it's up towards 120 as he's got the field in behind, looking to trying to give him a challenge here. So there you go. There's the lift through the final turn as they try and get this car settled for the run onto the front straight.
Yeah, getting that run down this front straight is really important, especially because they've elevated it or dug the rest of the track out, either one. So you go up for pit straight, and then you go straight back down into turn 1 as we see that deep dive there down into turn 1 through the rear wing of Dean Flavelle at the moment, through that tricky turn 2, then down into the turn 3 hairpin. Then you shoot up and over the hill here where the cars can potentially get unsettled for turn 4, and then you head down the hill again into turn 5.
Have a look at it here on board, yeah.
This long straight down to this very tight left-hander, into this left-hand hairpin, before we slowly start to work our way back up the hill again. As I said before, it's an absolute roller coaster at this track. It's quite fun.
Yeah, you can see here though in these V8s having to really lean on the car and really turn those front tyres to get some rotation in, and then also worry about the rears as well. So I'm seeing a couple of cars in the pit lane. I think we're also seeing perhaps even someone actually going for the early double stop strategy in the form of Michael Point. I've seen him in once already, and I think he's coming in again to try something a little different in this race. Although, as you said, he's going to have to now manage a set of tyres, presumably all the way to the end. Is he going to listen to Flavelle here? Really having to still ease on the power. So coming up into the back part of the lap. Where are the cars behind? Getting awfully close is the answer. But looks like he's going to hang on for now as they come around to complete lap number 6.
Still looking through the rear wing of Dean Flavelle here. Through this long sweeping right-hander, I think? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
As we see the car immediately behind Dean's pull into pit lane. So Chris Blanchard back in pit lane as well. Chris has had a night to forget, unfortunately. Diving back down into turn 1. This little battle, well, not so little battle pack. You know, these front 3 cars here kind of starting to build that gap The gap up front to Scott and Ken has remained stable at that 1 second, pretty much that 1 second even marker for a solid 3 or 4 laps now.
I'll actually pull them up here on screen and see how they're doing at this stage of the race. As you said, things are looking pretty even Steven between. If we actually bring up the last 3 lap comparisons, you can see that 2/10 gain there by Ken back on lap 4. Definitely handy, and then gain another 0.5 on lap number 5 as they sacrifice a little bit of time on lap 6. So that's something to keep in mind there, as well as they streaking up to turns 10 and 11. The double right here as they get to the top of this little crest plateau, whatever you want to describe it as there, and then power back down the hill as we get into this final sector. And again, really this side of this track here where they're going to work the right side tyres for a bit to make up for the work that goes into the left side tyres here at the very end and the very start of the lap. But it is going to be a left side working circuit more than the right, given the clockwise nature of the circuit. So keep that in mind, that the left rear in particular will be the one to watch out for drivers managing that, because make sure you get that final turn right, but also things like the hairpin at turn 3, up through turn 8 as well, and then 10 and 11, as well as turn 14. Those are your traction zones. The left rear is going to be really reliant on. The only one that's really a traction zone for the right rear is the turn 5 hairpin here in the middle of the lap. There's more cars into the pit lane from the mid-pack.
A few cars starting to, still not as late as we anticipated. This is kind of between that early stop strategy, but also the first of those kind of middle of the race stints as well. So around lap 8. So I'm guessing that Scott and Ken and Michael are going to run out to probably that lap 13, 14, 15, Dan. But it's interesting to see that the guys down in, 20, 21, 22nd, actually, pitting a little bit sooner, maybe to try and get an undercut, given the fact that they're in traffic, as we've got that nice little 3-car battle here for 5th between Smart, Stone Street and Thomas, still alive and well. Thomas slowly starting to work his way back up, and it looks like he's mauling the abs. There's actually been contact there on the front of the 43. Sorry, he's missing his entire bonnet at the moment. So somewhere along the lines, Jeff has come to blows, because it was not like that at the start of the race when we were last watching him. So might have to try and find a RaceKraft V8 Vets replay to try and identify where that exactly occurred. But yeah, at least he'll have a cool engine, Dan.
Well, he seems to still have pace as he's riding with Smart and Stone Street here in this run for top 5. Although in saying it, once again, he's still struggling with the rear tyres here on lap number, I think it's lap 8 for him, actually coming to the start of lap 9. Maybe he'll be one of the drivers that comes in a little earlier than said, and whoa! Looks like apparently I've got a little bit going for me there, as indeed Jeff Thomas will hit the pit lane in the 43 machine a little earlier than even stints. And we'll have to see here. Actually stay with him for a second, see if he fixes this car up in full, or if he's going to wait and save that fast rev for something a little bit more substantial and just do regular service. That's actually, quite capable. I'm trying to check to see if there's any logs, as you were wondering, but no issue. So he must have just run into the back of someone. It's not flagged as an error or an issue. Fast repair will be taken, so we'll get that car completely fixed up here at this stage of the race, is the answer there.
Yeah, it's probably a smart move. Only, only 24 laps, because we've got a slow car there as well. May potentially be going a lap down. But we've got a 4-car battle here for 7th between Stewart, Fewens, Kirby and Miller in the 666, rounding this little battle pack out. But if they're not careful, they could quite easily have another 3 or 4 cars tack onto the back of this as well. So the hypersonic car, well, actually all these cars are currently up 4 positions, but our 2 top movers at the moment are Luke Rundell and Ricky Hyde, up 10 and 11 spots, with Travis Hunt in P21 up 12 spots at the moment. So, but Stewie Hall in the 49 car. Big Whiting, I believe.
No, it's the start. It's Smart and Stone Street that they've gotten into a bit of dramas there, it seems, and as a result, Michael Stewart and this group of 4 behind have been given a free invitation to arrive on the back bumper. I have to go to a replay rather than stay live. Let's actually try and quickly have a look at how that unfolded, because all of a sudden, I'm looking there going like, that's a lot of white smoke. I think we'll be okay in terms of not having a big issue. So, okay, so wiggle out of turn 8 for Christian Smart there in the 999 Fisher Mouse machine. And he's just calling in on the replay, so we'll stick with the actual. Oh, Stone forced the shot the inside. Oh, big contact between the two into turns 10 and 11, but thankfully the cars do a 45 degrees drift and they get out the other side unharmed, apart from probably having some of the hottest sets of tyres on the grid there at this particular moment.
And that will not be doing those rear tyres for them absolutely any good whatsoever, as we see Michael Stewart actually into the pit lane as well in the Hypersonic car, I believe. So, but that won't be frowned upon favourably by race control, because there was a bump and run with significant advantage gained as well, and he hasn't given that position up yet. So, may potentially be a 5-second penalty coming the way of the super cheap car. I'll let race control figure that one out. That's why they get paid the big bucks, and I'm here commentating with you, Dan.
I might take offence to you saying they get paid the big bucks when they currently work on a volunteer basis. But I also wanted to pick up here a couple of drivers that we've got on Zoom are currently in battle together at this stage. One of them here being Jason Fewins in the 067 for the Banter Alliance. In behind him is Dave Kirby in the 307 Fishy Motorsports, although Dave is just trying to get past Michael Quain there, who, don't forget, is a lap down but has taken his 2 compulsory stops needed in this race. So if he can make the tyres last, get back on the lead lap, or maybe something happens here. If there's a safety car, get back on the lead lap and maybe take a 3rd stop just to bolt another set of tyres on so that you're got rubber to go with. That might be a play here. That gap there, though, is increasing between Fewins and Kirby, so we might just leave it on there. But Fewins will dive to the lane. What about the 307? Does he follow in? Yes, he does. As up in the background, Michael Quain returns to the pits for a 3rd time in the race, actually. So, pardon me, looks like something went wrong for 57, which necessitated repairs. Means that he's going to be in a bit of drama. So it's back up the front. Gap has extended.
Ken and Scott have just absolutely bolted from Michael. Ken has pretty much even a 4-second margin back to Scott, and Ken himself has just fallen out of that draft range of Scott. So whether that's due to pace or whether that's due to Ken kind of conserving his tyres, having a little bit of fuel, trying to maximise the length of this stint. But it'll be interesting to see. We're kind of starting to come up to that. I think lap 11 was the start of that mid-race stop, as we see redress has been completed for the 044 of Stone Street on Chris Smart. So Stone Street got there eventually, and Smart is back in front in the 999 Fishy Motorsports car. So they can resume their battle.
They can. As you said, Stone's going to have to do that one again and do it right this time. He's certainly got the pace, it seems, for parts of this circuit here, because you can see there through turn 13 that WKMP Commodore looks nicely gripped up. It's still got some responsive, still got some grip there in the front end of the car. And it's doing himself some solid favours as they then wind up and over the crest here at turn 15. As Michael Whiting, first of our leading drivers to come to the pit lane. They've got about another 2 or so laps of fuel. So probably looking at end of lap 13. Maybe if someone's been saving aggressively, end of lap 14 might be on the cards here for this opening 50 litres of fuel. It looks like leaders, yeah, most part, going to go a little long on this opening stint and shorten up the middle and end stints here rather than going for a perfectly even split of the occasion.
Yeah, if you can maximise and deal with the pain longer in the first stint, you're going to have less pain in the second stint and also fresher tyres as well. You know, if you do get undercut. Michael is looking really... who are you looking at?
Stone Street there.
No, sorry, Stone Street, yeah. Stone Street is looking really racy through the middle part of this sector. It looks as though that super cheap car is quite planted through this roller coaster like middle sector, as we see just how much he gains on the rear of the 999 machine of Chris Smart here. That 044 just looking a little bit neater and tidier. Looks like it's kind of using its tyres a little bit better through this middle part of the sector here. Chris really starting to have to drive defensively here.
Yeah, you can just see Stone Street able to really lean on the car a little bit more, but also, yeah, getting it to flow into the apex better, go to a wider exit line, and then look at that, corner entries in particular. He's getting it in nice and tight. Obviously, he loses a bit of ground on the exits as Smart accelerates first, but even here, look at this there. Gets it in. It's holding a little better through the middle of the corner, but is he then perhaps a little conservative? Perhaps a little conservative there on the exit initially. Is top two into the pit lane. Let's see how many people follow through here as we get lap 13 underway. They should have one more lap of fuel if they have it in hand, but no. Going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all into the pit lane here at the end of lap 12.
That's bang on exactly where you said that they'll probably pit there, Dan. So well done for doing your numbers. But we see a couple cars running a lap or so longer. So Chris Miller and Robbie Griffiths both running, you know, I would imagine we would have to see them in at the end of this stint. Otherwise, that's been some mega fuel save from these guys, you know, if they manage to eke it out by another 2 laps.
Yeah, 13 laps, pretty easy, according to my fuel numbers I was able to find in preparation for tonight. 14 laps, yeah, then you're starting to look at having to really work the fuel a little bit more conservative. In fact, let me just run the numbers on that real quick here in the background. So they had 50 litres to start. If they wanted to get 14 laps to a tank, you're looking at having to burn a reduced about 3.55 litres per lap. And from the data I found online, at minimum, whilst maintaining speed, you're looking at doing 3.6 litres a lap. You might even be pushing 3.7 litres a lap at a faster pace. So keep that in mind as critically, I see on the timing tower, there's been a change for the effective lead of the race, because look at that margin there. Although if I flick this up here, that will tell the answer as to why they've changed places. But Ken Latta going to try and underfuel relative to Scott Gamble. Gets himself in some plenty clean air here at this stage of the race. But now he's going to have to pay that back in the middle of it, because there's Scott Gamble in the background as Ken Latta here up through 10-11. Can Ken make this work for him here on slightly lower fuel load to start off the second stint?
Well, he's going to have to gain at least another 1.7, 1.6 seconds to actually make up that 7 seconds that is going to be... very close into pit lane there for Robbie Griffiths. Absolutely had that thing all locked up. Could have been quite disastrous. Could have seen a Shane Van Gisbergen and Pukekohe incident there. But back to Ken. He's going to have to really work his little tush off to actually extend that margin by Scott. We've seen just how dominant Scott has been recently, Dan, and the gaps that he's been able to pull and the gaps he's been able to actually reel in. So, smart strategy, yes. Will it pay off? We've got 19 laps to see, but I just feel as though Scott's in the box seat for this one again, and we're seeing that now down. It's now down to 4.8 seconds, so just in a lap or two. Oh, that's not going to help Ken at all. I think that's just absolutely, that's a done deal, that strategy is now unfortunately not going to work, as Scott's got all the momentum in the world coming down to the turn 5 hairpin.
Oh man, that is a golden opportunity, just handed on a silver platter to Scott Gamble. He would have been looking to press on and really try and get the pressure on from a distance, but now his pressure can be applied to the distance of just 1.5 seconds there. Oh, Ken Latta, he'll be absolutely kicking himself that that happened there all of a sudden. Let's quickly have a look at that one there again. Oh, another one of our RaceKraft simulation replays tonight, but man, like, looks completely in control here to Ken. And then just up and out of turn 3, over the hill into turn 4. And it just gets away as he puts the power down on him, trying to keep the speed up, and then just catch twice before it finally points in the right direction once again.
Yeah, and that's not uncommon. Even in the GTP that I was racing around here, Dan, the GTP did the same thing. It's such a weird corner, because you come over, you're not just coming over a rise, you're also turning left as well. So the car's unweighted in all aspects of it. So I'm surprised we haven't seen more of that with the supercar. But yeah, for Ken, that's an incredibly unfortunate incident, and I think that's really put a halt to any potential strategy play that he had for that 269 car. Jeff Thomas, however, has made up bulk positions, so it'll be interesting to see the time that Jeff's been in pit lane versus everything else, as we see the Angry Birds car on the 880 making a move down into turn 1, and smart move by the 880 to just let the Angry Birds car go, and just, this is very tight here.
almost tripping up over each other through turn 3. So I'll bring up, there's your pit stop time information for the top 3 compared to each other. So Ken Latta, yeah, that short stop, which is now basically, unfortunately, been given a bit of a hammer, and the strategy very much put him on the back foot in the back part of this race. Scott Gamble, longest stop of the leading 3 at 24.7 seconds. He's the longest stopped out of anyone until you get back to Michael Whiting in 8th place, for what it's worth. Jeff Thomas, shortest, can confirm, shortest stop until you get to Travis Hunt in 11th, his teammate. So it's said it a couple of times here in this season, but the JWM SimSports guys not afraid to go short on stop 1 to get track position, to make use of it in for middle stint and then pay it back at the end as Jason Fuen's big lunge up the inside through Portimão. Actually lost the spot for a moment there to Dean Favell, but he gets it back on the run up towards turn 13. And there you go. That will sit back on. So there's that next pack of cars in behind, with more drivers involved in all of that one there.
Yeah, as we anticipated, some absolute really good battling happening tonight. Good side-by-side racing. The guys are keeping it fairly clean as we see that. Was that another JMW SimSports car looking down the inside of the Hypersonic car there? Didn't quite get it done into turn 15, but we've got, what, a 5-car battle pack here for P10. So, very large battle packs as well, mostly because, you know, this is a very draft-driven track as well. Super wide as well, so you can have plenty of opportunity to actually race hard. But that's a fishy car, my apologies. They look very similar, actually. But this 5-car pack separated by what is 0.8 of a second, so they're all nose to tail around this tight, twisty, undulating middle circuit, as well as we go on board with Travis Hunt in the Zoom call, looking at the rear wing of that 32 JMW SimSports car. Dan.
Yeah, we will indeed. Critically though, first time this season at least, Travis not running in his usual VR setup that we get previously. We've gone to at least, I'd say, triple screens by the look of that side screen there. And so we get to see him here, although it's certainly got the eyes on and full focus ahead here as we come up into 10 and 11, which, Portimão, once again, coming up to the halfway point in this race here tonight already. Clock is ticking down, but looking like at this stage, just inside of halfway into this race. Don't forget, yes, we have a lap counter, but we also have a time limit to worry about. Let me just switch that from so 18 to go, or will be 17 here when Latta hits the start-finish line now. We've also only got 31 minutes remaining in this race, so that might have to be consideration. But in saying that, we're over halfway remaining on the clock. We should get the laps in, although that's reliant on staying green here, I'd say. I think a safety car comes out, we risk going a lap short compared to what was originally scheduled here.
The battle for the leads, just monitoring the timings there. Scott's actually dropped off. It was down as close to 0.3 of a second. It's now out to about 0.9, about to 1 second. But this battle here for 10th is absolutely raging at the moment. That 32 car got his absolute mirrors full of that neon green and black Hypersonic car. Absolutely all over the back of him. So as we see, the 307 looking to make a move down into the turn 5 hairpin as well. Probably not quite up far enough, but showing his nose, trying to push McCune into a mistake, so Kirby can complete that move as we come through turn 6, down into turn 7 and turn 8. This hairpin here, if you're alongside, is a potential overtaking opportunity, not this lap. Big wiggle there from McCune as he gets heavy on the gas, down over the crest into the dip. This corner here is very blind. You don't see it. It's right on top of the crest. Another tricky double apex corner as well. But it is absolutely vital to get this run correct, because that then leads you down into the final hairpin, the turn 13 hairpin on the track, before we go to the tricky double right-hander of 14 and 15, Dan.
That we do indeed. As we're right on board here for a little longer with David Kirby. And David actually available to chat with us here tonight. I think have to see if maybe we do it now in a couple of laps. We'll see how things go here in this fight as he's in the back of the group. Although maybe now's not a bad time, perhaps, Brant. So let me see if I can drag him up. If I can, we'll do that and interrupt his chat with his live stream. If not, we'll have to jump down and pull him up. Let's see if I try and grab the man. Can I pull him? It looks like the answer is yes. Although there's so many voice channels, I don't think I can actually. I've got to put. Let's see. Can I get? I've got to try and get it. So can I drag him all the way, or is it going to be like? we might have to go and move to him. We're on board
with Kirby at the moment. Down into turn 5, shows his nose again on the hypersonic car. Just unable to get that move as we see the 32 actually have a minor lockup. Runs a little bit wide, but McCune having another wiggle. That hypersonic car, Dan, he just can't get the power down smoothly.
No, he can't. And I think the answer is, unfortunately, there's so many voice channels in the Discord. I can't actually pull him up to us. We might have to jump down and interrupt him in that channel of his. So if we want to do that now, we can do that now, or we can do it whenever, I guess. So it's a matter of figuring out when we want to do it. As a question of pit stop times, certainly I can throw them up on the screen for you here. And Favell and Whiting have exchanged spots. Meanwhile here, this is at the front of this battle pack as the 880 machine trying to hang on to the spot, but no, doesn't get the drive off turn 14. And Christian Smart now with like a piece of the action as well. And yep, he's actually going to swing around the outside into the final turn here. And that will be the margins as they are. So also switched over. That's intervals. That's I might put on a gap. So that's makes more sense. That's gap slits. So yeah, Scott Gamble in the hot seat right now. Has one of the longest stops of anyone at the front end of the field. Right behind our race leader, David Kirby. Oh, sorry, Ken Latta. Jeez, let's get that right. And he'll be able to get that back without too much fuss, I would think.
I could bring Kirby up here. If you right-click on his name, you can actually select move to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's do that then. Let's get Dave back on a screen here.
I'll let you take over that one.
Okay, we might wait 2 seconds. He's in the middle of this now.
Does he get the move done down into turn 5? Is this the third lap? He set him up and gets the move done completely and cleanly on McCune. Of course, this lap, the lap that McCune gets overtaken, he gets that power down nice and smoothly in that HSR car. But good move there by Kirby. He set that up. This was about the third lap he had actually looked at that corner there. So he got a good run over that crest, that tricky left hand over the crest of turn 4. Was able to set himself nicely up for turn 5. We can see the 5 or 6 car lengths that David's actually managed to pull on McCune pretty much, instantly through the next few corners of this lap.
That he is. All right, indeed. Let's have a chat with him now that he's got through on Scott McCune. Hopefully not disrupt the flow too much for him here. And there we go. Dave Kirby, welcome to the broadcast booth. Thanks for having a chat with us live. And nice job there getting past Scott there in the middle of the lap.
G'day guys, how are we? Yeah, good.
Yeah, we're doing good up here and looking like things are going pretty nice for you up to P12 at the moment as we watch you here try and hang on to the spotlight of the draft here, looking like obviously strong down the front straight. How's the cars feeling out there tonight?
Yeah, it's good. Grip sort of, you put a foot wrong and you'll end up off, especially down here at turn 1. It's really tricky to get through there. But no, it's feeling good. Very hard to pass, as you would be watching. But if you put enough pressure on the car in front, hope that they make a mistake. And I think, Scotty just had a bit of a wobble there, and I was able to get past him.
Yeah, indeed. It does look like we were watching him and Brant noting a couple of times he's been struggling for traction here at turn 5 as well, being a spot of note. In the second half of the race, obviously, you guys here at the front will always one more pit stop for the rules. Obviously not going to ask you to tell us what that's going to look like necessarily, and maybe have people figure that one out by you telling them. But yeah, sort of, what do you think is going to be probably best for you? Obviously, maybe getting in early to try and get tyres on and then push on, or try and manage this set so you've got tyres in the best shape at the end, you think?
It's a bit 50-50. Like I felt in practice this week, which being a brand new track, actually did do some practice. It was better with fuel in it, so probably don't want to run the car down too low. Probably want to throw some fuel in it shortly, because it does settle the rear down, especially out out of turn 5 and also out of turn 8 as well. Really easy to light the rears up and go loop-de-loop, as a few have done already tonight, but if we can throw some fuel, a bit more weight over the rears, should be good. But the tyres feel good. Probably the right front's probably the only one that's sort of staying alive for me at the moment, but Scotty's going to have a move here, I think, have a run.
Tried, but not quite that time, so hang on for now. Brant, any questions for Dave before we let him get back to focusing on the racing?
No, I think it's, given the intensity of this battle at the moment, I think we best let Dave get back to it. Good luck, and yeah, look forward to seeing you trying to hold off that HSR car at the moment, mate.
Thank you, boys.
There we go, Dave Kirby. Thanks very much for him having a chat with us. And yeah, we'll let him get back to racing in peace and quiet there, as this racing action continues in the fight for what is currently P11 on the road.
Yeah, it's really started to heat up again. McCune's really come back to Kirby over the past couple of laps, and with that, he's brought one of the fishy cars with him as well. So, Mr. Kirby there, really coming under a lot of pressure at the moment from that McCune. It's almost as though the cars have done a 180 in terms of their performance at the moment with that battle. Someone we haven't seen too much of tonight, Rob Crisdale, has worked his way up the field a little bit, slow and steady. But yeah, normally we're used to seeing Rob a little bit further up, along with those other couple ERT cars as well. So this track obviously suiting some more than it's suiting others, as we see Scott Gamble setting the fastest lap of the race and still within that half a second margin. So I think Scott's just playing the long game here, using that draft, dipping that fuel ever so slightly in that 543 machine. But big battle here for 19th with Crisdale, Hall and Vigor from P19 down to P21.
Yeah, that we do indeed. You can almost say it kind of starts up here in 16th place as Mark Poynton looking to try and hang on ahead of Ricky Hyde, who's coming in a full head of steam though, and Poynton also going to bail into the pit lane. So that will check that one off. He joins Michael Stewart and Jason Fewens in on this lap as well, and a few more cars in this pack also going to peel in here, which will mean that we're going to see a couple of drivers here right on the end of the second third of this race. Almost at the second third of the race, coming in basically one lap before. It's end of 21, the start of 22 for them all. Meanwhile, we also have to keep an eye on things here. Battle for fifth might brew up here between Michael Winey and Christian Smart, two Fishy Motorsport teammates. We'll see though if they behave, or then again with nearly a second between them, if they'll sort of stay at this sort of margin for now. And as we said earlier, that battle earlier, which actually I'm going to say is starts at Ricky Hyde now, with the way that people are coming into the pits. Ricky Hyde, Dan Hall there, and in the background, Rob Crisdale and Stewie Hall going at it. In fact, these two here in particular are the ones closing up as change for the lead. Scott Gamble is through because Ken Latta comes in right on the end of lap 22 at the second third mark. He will get those tyres off here pronto and try and pay things back on some fresher rubber here to start off the final third of the race plan.
Yeah, I noticed actually, Dan, coming out of pit lane, Kirby had actually dropped behind his Fishy Motorsports teammate in the pink supercar. Not sure what make it was. So it'll be interesting to see what McCune does, whether or not this undercut will work in their favour, or whether or not McCune has enough clean air to actually overcut them and still come ahead out of both of those Fishy cars. But Kirby has dropped at least one spot in that pit cycle, as we see on screen here. It was the pink Fishy Mustang of Chris Miller, the 666 machine, who had jumped his teammate Kirby in that pit cycle. So it will be very interesting to see, or is that the hypersonic car that I see in the background there?
That would be the 77 of Scott McCune there. And the reason that they've all lost some time over to Chris Miller, very short stop there of 11.9 seconds for the 666 well through, and 14.4 for Dave Kirby, 13 Damien Cairns, and 15.4 here for Mr. McCune. So that explains a lot there. How's that? Cars coming out of the pits off pace. It's Troy Stonestreet, who has, after racing so well at the front of the field, all of a sudden has ended up back here in 17th spot. Now, He was P8 when he crossed the line on that lap, but how about this here? All kinds of chaos, and it's going to be, a bit of elbows out. Kirby's gotten through on Chris Miller. Now Damien Cairns and Miller going at it here. And it's getting spicy out on track. Miller will get through on the 88 machine as this big old pack here has come together all of a sudden as the pit stop cycles have shuffled everyone up. Race leader Scott Gamble into the lane. We'll see how far out ahead Ken Lattery comes. We're expecting several seconds in his favour here at this stop.
McCune got absolutely balked by Stone Street there. That was, as we see McCune with those warmer tyre, Dunlop tyres down the inside. But can he hold it because he'll be on the... Oh, yep, well done. Good move. Ballsy move to try and stick around the outside there. But well done as we see Scott Gamble out of pit lane. And as we thought, 9 seconds over Dan Hall and over Ken Latter. Sorry, just over 9 seconds. So, yeah, I think, Dan, we can probably safe to say, bar anything occurring, Scott Gamble's got another race win to his belt this week. Unfortunate for Ken that strategy just didn't work out with that spin coming through turn 4 here at the moment. But the 462 of Dan Hall has poked his way up the field significantly as well, along with Rob Christa, but I imagine and Jamie McKnight, but I imagine we'll see those three drivers do their 30 seconds, 30-second trundle down pit lane, 40 seconds inclusive of pit time, in the next handful of laps, as we have 9 left to go of this sprint race here at Portimão.
Yeah, Dan Hall, Rob Christo here, looking great, but unfortunately owes us another stop as the 808 machine gets all kinds of squeals on the exit of turn 8. Ken Latter looking for a way through ASAP. Doesn't commit here. It turns 10-11 initially, but almost gets into the rear bumper. Oh, actually, we're on board with Dan Hall. Let's go back because that's where we'll find the 269 of Latter, who will cross up to the inside here at turn 13. Can he get the job done? The answer is going to be almost. Almost.
Oh.
Hall wants to hang on to it, but older tyres and the traction will win out, of course, for the 269, even though on the outside. And so surely for Dan now, pit stop incoming at some point soon, we would think. And yep, there you go, commits on the inside of the final turn. And to the lane he shall come. Will he be followed by Chris Dell? They will both come in here at the end of lap 24.
Yeah, that will not... I could imagine Ken was screaming for the 462 to just let him by, even though he has to do a pit stop. Under no opportunity to do so, but yeah, that really hurt. You know, he's lost another 1.4, 1.5 seconds on Ken there. So that's, yeah, given Scott rather, sorry, a huge buffer. Ken has Jeff just sitting 2 seconds away, so Thomas is out of that slipstream at the moment. We'll see what the 43 machine can do. We know that 43 machine has been pacey throughout the season to date. So remains to be seen, but I think everyone's kind of settled down at the moment. There's no real battle packs, maybe for 5th, 6th and 7th there, with McKnight, Stewart and Vanderkraan separated by about 0.6, 0.7 of a second. But for the most part, everyone's spread out quite nicely at the moment, Dan.
That they are, yeah. We'll have to keep actually. No, I take that back. They're spread. Our leaders are spread out, that's for sure. Now, McKnight is the cork in the bottle for this bunch because he hasn't pitted yet. And I get the feeling they're all going to be screaming at him, can you hurry up and pit, please, so we can get on our merry way. So you've got this one here of cars held up by a little bit. Yeah. And then you've got these three here as Dan Hall's just jumped on the buzzer as he had a tangling with Crisdale here. There was an overtake. Let's have a quick look here on the RaceKraft Simulations replay. We can piece this one apart. Just get the right one queued up if I can.
No safety car, so it can't be anything too significant. We don't see any damaged cars. May have just been some light contact. as we go to the replay at the moment. Four-car battle here, line of stern.
Ricky Hyde.
Oh, yep, that's not ideal. Hyde stop. Oh, that's not an ideal place to stop for the 802, that's for sure. Everyone manages to squeeze by, thankfully. But yeah, just very late on the brakes, missed his braking marker, and unfortunately around goes the 4.62.
Yeah, interesting one there from Ricky. I get wanting to make sure you give that spot up and not, end up in any more strife than you have to be, but it's probably the worst possible place to park a car in the middle of an active race situation there. And that nearly went all kinds of horribly wrong for drivers in that one there. But back to live pitches we'll go. We've got a 3-car fight for 9th potentially here. We've also got, Michael Stewart leading 3 cars up here for P5. So keep an eye on that one here in the closing couple of laps. And then a little further back, we've got 5 cars in and around 12th here, led up by Damien Kanzit, getting past some more traffic there and all this as well. Although
McHugh's fallen way back in the 77 now. He's in that battle as well, and he was fighting right up the front with the 999 car in P7. So something funky has happened to the 77 car as we go on for a replay here with Tim Nicol in 462. Oh, so yeah, that's always a tricky corner to try and complete yourself, let alone when you got a car on the inside there. So unsighted potentially. Thoughts on that one there, Dan?
Yeah, look, aggressive or just a little late getting it pulled up there was Dan Hall. Oh no! Oh. Tim Nicol live has just given Stewie Hall a good old whack in the rear. That's going to allow Ricky Hyde through. Jamie Knight also looking like he might get through here on the run to turn 5. Just also heard a points penalty's been issued to Ricky Hyde for one of his incidents in this race. Unfortunately, with everything happening there, I didn't quite catch which incident that was. Stewie, on the radio about that one there. Rick Viggers scrapping here with Paul Burns. This is for 28th place. It's towards the back of our field, yes, but on the lead lap, and this is going to count. Oh no, tag from Paul Burns is going to, check these two up. It looks like it actually will bring Damon Fisher into it as well. Yep, the 505 machine going to get involved in all of this.
Been a very messy couple laps, it seems, at the moment. They've been fine up until about now. They've got 5 laps to go. If they can just stop binning each other for the next 5 laps, we'll be hunky-dory. We've got another 5-car battle here with that 5-car battle we had a look at before with Scott McCune sitting there in P13, Cairns in 12th, Doane Street, Griffiths and Grundell in 14th, 15th and 16th. McCune looking racy, but way down the order compared to where he was prior to this second pit stop. So that 77's looking quite racy. We'll see if he can actually get the traction out of here, but we see the 88 driving a little bit defensive there. Just not white lining it, but just with half a car width over onto the defensive side, in defensive line, just to make it that little bit more difficult for the 77 to creep up the inside down.
Yeah, so we'll just check in back towards the front of the field for half a moment, because this gap ebbing and flowing here between Ken Latta and Jeff Thomas. Although at 700ths gain per lap, yes, we've only got 5 laps to go at the end of this one here. Jeff will need to find a bit more of a... Let's have a look here at lap number 28 when they both come across the line to see how it compares. So, okay, just for a second, I was waiting at Jeff. Where have you gone? Answer is there's been an exchange position, meanwhile in behind. Chris Smart ahead of Matt Vandergren. Half a second gain on the last lap. All right, so we'll check in with this in a little bit, but if... Oh, Matt Vandergren's on the buzzer about whatever's happened back here. Michael Stewart's being caught by Christian Smart as well. As we have to go to another replay here to piece this one together. Brant, as Christian Smart and Matt Vanderkraan getting together in some description, it seems.
Yep, apparently they did not heed the advice and elected to not cool their jets for the next 5 laps. Rather, they will continue to... Oh, little bit of a bump and run there from Chris, I think. No real damage caused. Oh, another one again.
That's just been going back to get you the onboard of that same one.
Sorry, yeah. So, and that's a high-speed place to do it too. So, yeah, that's racing, that one. But yeah, that could have ended quite poorly.
Speaking of racing.
Oh.
His 5-car scrap is on. Stone Street now threatening McCune. Oh, both of them get a wiggle off of turn 8 here. And that's going to park up someone like Luke Rundell here in the middle of it all, who's trying to keep coming through the field. Come up into turns 10 and 11.
Can they get through here? Oh,
no!
Nope, that answers that question.
Oh, there's now McCune and Grundell. But it will be the one... 057, sorry to get ahead. Robbie Griffiths getting involved. Elbows out there in the back of shot.
Griffiths with the almighty send up the inside. Lucky not to collect anyone there at all.
Quite so indeed.
Looks like he will lose a spot there, Griffiths, if that Phoenix car can keep it on the inside, which he does. So Griffiths ultimately from all that ended up losing a position, but oof. That could have been very nasty. Redress for the 999 to the 180 will have to be done.
Or is done, yeah.
Or is done, rather.
So, brewing there. Gap for P3 is spread out a little bit here. Also going to start looking at things and go, well, who deserves Chubby Buns Burgers Driver of the Day award tonight? Look here who's making the moves in this race. It's currently Travis Hunt, who started with off the back. No qualifying time for him tonight. I'll have to double check if that's because of license points and having to do a start. Actually, no, sorry, he was on the grid. He just didn't set a time. So I just presume that means he unfortunately had a moment doing that one sorted out. So maybe contention there. But you've also got Luke Rundell in this scrap. Now up 10 spots, and he's in 13. So maybe Luke in a shout for that one there, but you've also got Michael Stewart up 5 spots to P5. Yes, it's not a huge number of spots, but it's our best placed driver who's made spots up in this race, so maybe he's in with a shout as well. Just so many options here. Brent will have to have a discussion either here at the end of the race or just talk about it quietly afterwards.
It's a tough one. Obviously, you know, only 5 or 6 positions gained, but you know, for Stewart. But those 5 positions have been tough positions. He's had to fight tooth and nail for them. But on the flip side, you got Travis Hunt, who's made up, you know, a honking 14 positions around this circuit, where it's not that difficult, not that hard, not that easy, rather, to complete overtakes at. As I'm sorry, ow! Sorry, my cat just broke one of my model cars. That's marvelous. Ignore me.
Double checking the time clock as well. We are going to get the laps in here tonight, safety car or no. So we'll get the scheduled distance by a minute or two to spare. So we've got this fight here for P6 now between Matt Vanderkraan and Christian Smart. Keep an eye on that. Critically also, are they catching up with Michael Stewart on that last lap? The answer was yes. Pretty healthy gains for Vanderkraan on the last lap. How are we looking on this current lap? Yep, some more gains being made on this one too, despite the fact that Vanderkraan is coming under all kinds of assault from Christian Smart here. Start of this lap, number 31.
Very close battle here between the 180 and as Chris Smart has a big slide coming out of that, coming onto the back straight there. Very unfortunate. But up front, Scott Gamble, 12 seconds, Dan. No one can touch him at the moment. Luke Grundell trying to hunt down, make this 11 positions with Damien Cairns. As we got Scott McKeon and Troy Stonestreet, and this other crazy 4-car battle pack in behind as well. It's been relentless, this particular battle pack. Just has not stopped all night.
It hasn't. As Nash is looking good there. Run off of turn 15, or will it be Stonestreet who makes the move in towards turn 1? We wait and see. No, they won't. There is side-by-side, though, up ahead. Cairns and Grundell as the 057 machine, the SLS racing entry, gets the nose ahead here at turn 3, and job done, it seems. So up 11 to challenge for potentially being most spots gained, although from here he'd have to find another 3 spots, and there are a good ways up the road. It looks like, unfortunately, battles for the podium have cooled off. Stonestreet move up the inside on McCune. It's a lunge, and he runs into the edge of the track, but he looks like he's almost got the job done here on the run into turn 5, but it's going to be fought through here to turn 7 and 8.
Oh, McCune trying to hold that inside line. Still side by side. Nearly 3 wide there. And Stonestreet will hold off, but we got Nash up the inside with some potential contact there with Stonestreet. With McCune, rather, sorry. As we see Griffiths back up the inside of McCune as well. Can he hold it around the outside? McCune will have the optimal line. Never mind, Griffiths gets that done just in time for the turn 13 hairpin. Sorry.
I was going to say, yeah, as you said, been charging away as Scott Gamble. Well, he's now got, what, 2/3 of a lap left to go here already to round out the penultimate round of the championship season here in the RaceKraft Simulations V8 Veterans Championship. Our main one we might have to keep our eyes on here. Matt Vanderkruijm versus Christian Smart, the first battle across the line here with the way that Smart is looking, as he's all over the gearbox of Vanderkruijm. On board with the 180 machine, we will go as there you go. Hunting is Smart. Oh, can he get something here on the exit of 5? He goes for the super wide entry, but no, I don't think he actually overdid the entry there in the back up. It means at least into turn 8, I think Vanderkruijm will be safe here as they come up the hill.
Yeah, but he got a good run coming down into this tricky double apex corner here as we switch back to Scott Gamble, coming to complete his final lap of the race in complete and utter domination yet again, with over 12 seconds, nearly 13 seconds over Ken Latta. Scott Gamble, you sir are just unbeatable this season at the moment. He comes across the line, celebrates, and comes across the line, P1 for the 9.5 Sim Sports race team. 5:43 Scott Gamble. Take a bow, good sir. As we're waiting and waiting and waiting. And Ken Latta finally crosses the line, 12, nearly 13 seconds, followed by Jeff Thomas in the JMW car. So, despite the dramas that the 43 had, good recovery as we see, Chris Smart trying absolutely everything, but can't get it done. Matt Vanderkruijm for Angry Birds Racing going home in P6 by half a second over Chris Smart in P9.
Into the line, come a couple of battles there.
Flavel and Kirby and Miller come home in 9, 10, 11. This battle unrelenting down the back here. Huge gaggle of cars. Griffiths nearly getting it done. But Nash holds on for that top 15 position.
Tight battles here in the back half of the field. And in fact, our last one on track, 0.8 of a second. It actually has ballooned out here towards the end, but our last couple of drivers bring it around to wrap things up here in this penultimate round of the season. And it looks like there aren't going to be too many dramas here. They will come across the line as we pick them up there at the end of it all. But that is our field that has finished the race, at least, now classified and across the line to wrap up the racing action here tonight. And with that there, Brant, I think it's time for us to start looking at the race results here from the Algarve International Circuit in this 9th round of the season here tonight.
Absolutely. I think this threw up some solid battles, a lot more than what we were anticipating, and not too much carnage. I say too much because there were definitely some funky moves being done there. But Scott Gamble, by 13 seconds in the 5:43 for the 9.5 Sim Sports, bringing home P1 from Ken Latta and Jeff Thomas in P2 and P3 respectively. Michael Whiting after a race-long battle in the 5:20 for P4. Michael Stewart for HSR in P5. Matt Vanderkraan, well done for the Angry Birds Racing in P6. Chris Smart after that phenomenal race in P9. Jason Fewens for the Banter Alliance in P8. Dean Flavelle, P9, and running out our top 10, Dave Kirby, who we saw caught up in some pretty enthralling battles throughout this race, Dan.
You can see there as well, he ends up barely half a second behind Flavelle, so there's also that to note as well. Just in behind him was Chris Miller next to the Fishy Motorsport cars to bring it home in P11 tonight. Luke Grundell making up some good spots there tonight, 11 spots gained to finish in 12th. Definitely in with a shout at the contention of the Chubby Buns Burgers driver of the day, but we'll have to have a think about that in a second. Damien Cairns unfortunately slipped backwards to P13 tonight, as does Troy Stonestreet, starting inside the top 5, but we'll have to settle for a 14th place finish in this one this evening. David Nash dropping a couple of spots to P15. Robbie Griffiths actually just losing the one spot in the 16th, so from Scott McCune ending up there in 17th place, not too far behind. Chad Lewis next there in 18th place. Travis Hunt right on his gearbox at the line there, well, they'll have to settle for 19th place in the number 32. And saying that, biggest move up there for Travis tonight. He was followed home though by Mark Boynton, up 7 spots in the Frog Leap Juiced Racing number 29.
P21 is Rob Crisdale in the 808 Frog Leap Juice Racing. Dan Hall for ERT, way down the order compared to what we saw him at the likes of Phillip Island in P22. Jamie McKnight in P23. Ricky Hyde for 801 Sim Racing in P24. Stewie Hall in P25. Tim Nicol, 26th. Paul Burns, P27. Damon Fisher and Stephen Varga for Quantum Peakies Racing in 28th and 29th rather. And Rick Vigor is down there in P30, and we'll turn over to our last 3 cars. Darren Goosey was the last of our cars, 1 lap down in P31. Chris Blanchard, who we saw have an absolute shocking start to the race, down 5 laps. And Michael Quain down 17 laps, unfortunately. So, rough night for the 669 and the 57, but for that 543 car, Dan, untouchable.
Yeah, that he was indeed, and yeah, impressive to say the least once again. And as a result, we'll grab him, I think, here in a second as our first driver to be interviewed here tonight. And yeah, bring him in here now to have that chat to kick off our podium interviews for this week. And Scott Gamble, once again, another win in the books, also making it look like it was a stroll around Algarve tonight. Honestly, I mean, what more do we need to say this season about things just going perfectly well for you? Dominant qualifying, dominant race. Just well done once again.
Yeah, how you going, Dan? Thank you. Yeah, it went our way. I think Ken put a little bit less fuel in the first stop, and he maybe jumped us by about 5 or 6 seconds, and then he had a little bit of lose on turn 4 and lost it all back. So I figured we just had to sit behind him, fuel save, and clutch it down the straight a bit, and yeah, that's all we had to do in that second stint, and we should have well and truly cleared him. So yeah, it was good fun. It was still a little bit of strategy in it, and enjoy racing Ken. I think he's probably a little disappointed with the way his race went. I think he probably could have done a little bit better, but yeah, it was still good fun. We had a good race.
I mean, yeah, it is a good point to make, of course. Yeah, that battle there. Well, we were thinking it could have been a very interesting battle there with the different strategies in there. Unfortunately, we caught it live and had a look at it on replay as well for Ken there. That moment just allowed you to get up to the back of him there, and that basically secured the advantage for you, because then obviously that short stop at the end, turning things back around in your favour. I mean, we're now down to just penultimate race, obviously, with the shortened race tonight. Unfortunately, thanks to good old iRacing maintenance being announced midweek, that it was going to happen tonight, meaning we couldn't run our regularly scheduled race. on that point, I guess, yeah, was a shorter race probably a good thing tonight, or do we think that the original planned race distance would have been a good option? So, any thoughts on the change that had to be made there to make this race work tonight?
Yeah, I thought either, Dan. I'd done some fuel runs, a full starting fuel run of 80 litres, and I knew the drop-off, there was two-stage drop-off to this car around this track. So, and I knew around about lap 17, after that, you really struggle. You drop another half a second till lap 20, say, with 80 litres that you could get out of it. But so I had a bit of a strategy in mind for that. But you know what? I'm not upset that it was a shortened race, Dan, because this track is probably one of the most mentally draining tracks that I've driven on iRacing for bloody years. It's so difficult. You get a little bit of a break down the straight, but that's it. The rest of it is you're always trying to balance the car with your feet, throttle and brake inputs, and yeah, it's a really mentally draining track. So yeah, 33 laps, I thought that was good enough, and we could really break it up into 11 lap stints, and the tyres would hold in the whole way, you know.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah, the compulsory stop rules obviously making things a little easier on tyres and fuel. Actually, that's one more thing that's worth it. Obviously, bringing the compulsory strategy stops in means that you sort of have a sort of relative... Well, actually, does that fix the strategy down more for you guys there on track, or does that make it more interesting for you having the requirement to do 2 stops, but therefore fuel and tyres, and when you take them and how much fuel you're adding in and how much you're trying to save to make that all work and gain yourself an advantage? Does that really help you out there in a short race format like this, or would... Because once upon a time, you used to obviously have just these one-stop races, really, in these shorter 150k length events.
Yeah, there is a little bit to it. I mean, you're getting fresh tyres, 2 times throughout the race, so you can really sort of put the hammer down. And I guess for people, I mean, it might allow an undercut here and there. If they can get it in a lap or 2 early before the bloke in front of them, they might be able to utilise those tyres. I think if I was down the back, Dan, in just thinking of strategies, if I was from 30th back or something, I would have near filled up on the first stop and then just come in for a splash. Like I would have tried to split it halfway and just ran the whole distance on tyres. Do you know what I mean? And the other one got up on the stands for a second and back down and gained all that time. But it's, there's things like that drivers can do to really get them up. For us, when you're towards the front, I guess your strategy is you generally go as long as you can unless someone's undercutting you, and you've got to know who you're racing. So obviously I'm racing, Ken, tonight Stewie, who had a great race, and Tomo, and Whiting and all those blokes. So I've got to keep a bit of an eye on them and when they pit so they don't undercut me. And until then, run as long as I can unless there's a safety car. That's sort of generally the strategy for the top 5, 6, 7 or so.
Well, one final race to conclude the season. Next Thursday night, we head to Jerez, and it will be a busy week for you. You'll have the Supercar Pro Invitational right before and on Wednesday night. If you're going to maybe have a crack at V8 Sculpts, that's also on the weekend as well. So 3 opportunities, if not probably 4 or 5 opportunities to race at Jerez next week, and various different formats there, hopefully to make things a little interesting if you do a bunch of them. What do you think that's going to be like? We go to the moto layout, which means we'll have that fast flowing end of the lap using what the motorbikes use around that circuit there.
Yeah, I really like that track. I call it Jerez. I know it's supposed to be pronounced F, but it's just the Aussie slang in me. It starts with a J, so it's Jerez. A little like Jose instead of Jose. But I really do like Jerez. It's a great track. It's a good one to race at. It will be a busy week, like you mentioned. It's going to be huge, actually. So it's a good way to sort of finish the season off, I think. East Coast as well, probably on a Tuesday night. That'll be there. So, yeah, it's going to be a really busy week. And then we'll be able to have a bit of a break from vets for a few weeks. And then East Coast after that, the final race at Winton. So I'm looking forward to it, Dan. And, hopefully everything goes well and we all have a good race there.
Well, before we let you go, Scott, one final time for tonight at least, and the floor's all yours. Who do you want to thank for helping you get it done in the 5:43?
Yeah, it's got to be a shout out to the 9.5 SimSport guys over there. They're always asking a few questions, getting around, and they're showing an interest in vets, even though they're not the participating. So that's really welcoming to have that and that sort of support behind you. So the sponsors over there that make it happen is RaceKraft, Turn-In Apparel, RSW Graphics, Racing Ears, Prestige Cinematography. Big thank you to them. Big thank you to SimSpeed. Really love your broadcast. You do an amazing job over there. And not only watch this Vets one, I watch several of your broadcasts throughout the week. So it's really good and entertaining. Well done to Ken and Jeff. You know, it's good to see Jeff up there. He done really well to get back, actually. So congratulations to him and to the other drivers out there and to the sponsors of the league. Thank you very much.
Well, there we go. Scott Gamble with us once again after winning here tonight at Algarve for round 9 of the championship season. And Brant, I'll hand to you here in a second and have a chat to the man who came home in second place, Ken Latta. Just grab him for you if you'd like, and that'll, yes I will. There we go. The floor there is all yours to have a chat with the man behind the 269.
Ken, welcome to the broadcast booth once again this season. How was that race for you tonight at Portimão?
Disappointed. I didn't have my fuel set right when I come in for the first pit stop, and I wanted to take on a bit more than I did, and the bloody thing overrid it because I was trying to adjust it on the fly as I was sort of trundling down the pit lane there, and then when I come out, I had that gap on Scotty, and then just split sideways coming out onto the back straight there, and lost all that time. Nearly put it into the wall. So
have you had many instances like that at that turn 4? Because I know in the GTP I've had it quite frequently. Have you had that in the supercar through that turn 4 section there previously, or was that kind of a one-off kind of random oopsie doopsie slippery dip you had?
That was probably more of a one-off. That the chatter was a little high in our Discord, so that probably wouldn't have helped the situation. But yeah, like that was the worst one because definitely by a long shot.
Overall, though, given other than those couple issues, the season overall, have you been happy with that? Obviously, coming to the penultimate round tonight, heading into Jerez next week, with a host of series there. Are you happy with your season to date so far? Do you feel as though you could have done anything differently tonight?
Probably not, because I don't know. I think overall our pace to Scotty we're about equal. Like there wasn't really much between us. And obviously, a couple of errors like that just put you right out of the mix. I mean, unless the safety car comes along, you know. But you know, we'll chasing for time through most of the season. It just seems the last 2 rounds we've seems to have sort of bridged that a little bit. So coming into the last round, you know, just have fun and hopefully we can put up a good performance and a good race for the viewers and all that sort of stuff.
Have you done much racing at Jerez in the supercar or in general before, or is this yet another new circuit that you're kind of coming into next weekend?
I can't even remember it, to be honest. And I'll probably get there and go, oh yeah, I've been here before, but yeah, until I have a look at the track, I wouldn't have a clue.
No, that's all good. On that note, who got you here tonight? Who do you want to thank? Sponsors, teammates, etc., etc.
Well done to Scotty and Jeff. I know Jeff's pretty rapt about coming third. And it's always good to watch the broadcasts. It's done very well. And Race Control, West End Motor Group, Infinity Design, DC Shades, Battery Warehouse, Early Beach, Precision Sim Training, and all the guys at Fishy. Thank you.
And once again, well done on P2 tonight, Ken. Let's see if we can go one better next week.
Okay, cheers. Thank you. Bye.
And then one final driver remains, and I even had him queued up on Zoom as well. It'll be Jeff Thomas in the number 43 for JWM Sim Sports, who will grab in here now as well. Let's grab the right man here. There we are indeed. Bring in Jeff Thomas here to have a chat for this P3 result here tonight. Well done, Jeff. I've also got you on camera here as well, so you can almost duck off to your left and we can say hello to you there as well. But unfortunately, a big set of 11s off the grid there sort of sent you down to the back half of the top 10 to get things right off and underway.
Yeah, that really didn't help, to be honest. And it was the first time I'd done it all week. You know, every start I'd had was pretty good. I don't know, we just got wheel spin. It is what it is. It happens to everyone at some stage, but could have done without it.
And I mean, then in saying that, you've come back to end up here in third place tonight. We did see you pick up some damage there before you took your first pit stop. We actually, though, missed, unfortunately, how that happened to you there. Do you recall exactly what caused that for your car there tonight?
Yeah, so I think it was Christian Smart and Roy Stone Street, I reckon, were in front of me, and yeah, I just got my brake and turning into one just nice and got back on the throttle, and they must have, well, I think Christian might have got it a bit wrong, and they were very late on the throttle, and I'd picked it up and they was sort of stopped into the back of Stoney. I apologise to him for that. I didn't obviously mean to, and that's where I copped a bit of damage. So that's sort of to a degree why I pitted early to get rid of that damage and get some dry and get some clean air, which did work for me. So yeah, that helped me pick up some spots, I think.
Well, yeah, certainly coming in early clearly did work out for you there. How did it sort of feel like that middle and final stint there as you worked your way back up to the front of the field where clearly your pace demonstrated you deserved to be?
Yeah, so I felt like I had good race pace, so that's why I thought I need to get some clean air because those boys were holding me up and I didn't feel like I was too confident to get a pass done. So I was trying to do it on strategy. Go the undercut, fix the damage. I come out in clean air. Was able to turn some pretty decent sort of laps until everyone had pitted, and I did probably put a little bit less fuel in than what I wanted to. So, but I got the track position, and then I did stuff up a little bit in the second stop that I put in just slightly under fueled. Just I thought I had 10 to do, not 11, so I only fueled for 10 laps, so I was 1.5 litres short. So that's where I had to drop off the back of Kenny and just manage the gap to Michael Whiting behind and just fuel save that 1.5 litres to get home.
Yes, we were wondering how things were going there for you in terms of in terms of your pace, because for a moment that we thought it was on for P2, unfortunately not to be in that case. Well, one final round to come next week at Jerez to complete the season. Any thoughts on how that combination you think will be for everyone when you get there next Thursday, or what is it going to be like practicing, getting ready for that one for you specifically?
Yeah, I really like the track, and I think we normally have some pretty good racing when we've been there, so I haven't always had a great race there, but I feel like I normally have pretty good pace there, so I'm really looking forward to it actually. Try and finish the season on a high.
Definitely always a good thing to aim for there, Jeff. Well, before I let you go, floor's all yours. Who do you want to thank for helping you get it done in the number 43 tonight?
Yeah, thank you guys at SimSpeed. Always do a great job. Really appreciate it. All of the admin at V8 Vets, always done a fantastic job. Like Dave Coleman, called me out early in practice tonight and said I was flashing, so I got to check the internet early and work out what was going on. I think it was another fortnight download. So I sorted that earlier, which is great. Obviously the team, the JWM guys, got some guys running East Coast now, some of the younger lads, waiting their time for vets, and they got a while to wait, I can tell you. But yeah, it's good to I'll bounce some ideas off them, how their Tuesday night went, that sort of thing, because it's the same track each week, so that's been good. That's about it.
Well, there we are. Thanks for chatting with us, Jeff. Well done here tonight on P3, and all the best to get ready for next week to wrap up the season.
Cheers, thanks for that, Daniel. Thanks.
Well, that'll do us for interviews, I think, tonight, Brant. We actually need to decide still who we're going to give the Chubby Buns Burgers Driver of the Day award to this evening. So, quick tip, I think basically our choices are, we'd say Michael Stewart gaining 5 spots to finish in 5th, or Luke Grundell 11 spots to finish in 12th, or Travis Hunt 14 spots to finish in 19th. I think I might suggest we give that one to Michael tonight. Fierce fighting for him during the race, and then coming out there ahead in P5, I think is definitely a worth recognition tonight. Would you agree on that one there for me?
Yeah, absolutely. That top 10 was just, absolute feverish action throughout the entire 33 laps. It didn't really relent. So, yeah, for Michael Stewart, he was, in the thick of it, I think, the entire race. And, as I think it was the Gamble who said, it's such an exhausting and fatiguing track, and to be in a battle rate all night long, I think it has to be Michael Stewart for me.
There we are. Thumbs up to you there, Michael. And nicely done there, finishing P5 tonight. So that will just about do it from here tonight at Algarve. But there's one final thing that I wanted to have a quick look at, which is now very much provisional championship standings, I should add, because penalty points and a couple of bonus points aren't counted. So these numbers might change a little bit for a few drivers where it matters. But here's, roughly speaking, how we're going to be looking at the championship coming into the final round next Thursday night. Gap increases to a solid 50 points for Scott Gamble. Basically, finish the race will probably be, well, I'll talk about it more next week, but that's looking pretty healthy there for him at the top of the order. Seeing there that it's Chris Smart and Matt Vanderkran who are nose to tail. 2 points potentially between the two of them at this stage. Only 5 points back to Dan Hall. So the top 5 fight is going to be spicy here at this stage. And then you got, well, there you go, 10 points between Chad Lewis and Jeff Thomas in the top 10. Yeah, we've got tiny gaps all over the order. And of course, that all-important P20 spot now apparently being held by Troy Stonestreet there for WKMP Sim Sports, which actually, let me just quickly compare that to how it's going. Yep, he's jumped up 2 spots, roughly speaking, based on that one there. So that's important for him. That'll be one to watch out for next week in more detail, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's only 13 spots, 13 positions between 19th and 20th. Travis Hunt, another 11 points behind in P21. And then the gaps start to stretch out here a little bit. So I think Travis will be the one to watch with Stonestreet next week to see if he can get that P20, that, all-important automatic entry into next season. So as we work our way down the grid, Talyancic has been absent for most of the season this season. So hopefully we see Tally back in the series on a more permanent basis next season. As we work our way through the order down to the last 50th car with Michael Schreier in not having done any races. So Scott Gamble, stranglehold on the series at the moment, by far been the man to beat currently. The top 3 looking pretty cemented. That 5th, 6th, and 7th position down, that'll be an all-out cracker battle to the end of the flag, I think, and end of the season next week.
Yeah, that'll be one to watch out for next Thursday night as we head to the Circuito de Jerez, Angel Nieto, on the 23rd of May at 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. 46 laps, 200 kilometres to wrap up this season. Will it be Scott Gamble confirming this championship here in season 19 as we expect? We'll have to find out in a week's time before that happens. Mind you, also want to give a quick shout out to not just RaceKraft Simulations as our title sponsor for season number 19 here in the V8 Veterans, but also, of course, a nod to all of the sponsors that are making this championship possible with the V8 Veterans team. Crucially there, Player One Sim Gear, Nova Sim Sports, Logitech G, Parramatta, Isuzu Ute, and the Chubby Buns Burgers. On behalf of SimSpeed TV and Brant Tucker here in the commentary box alongside me tonight, it's been Daniel Yeaman here as well on the call for this week. Thank you all very much for watching, and also look forward to seeing this up on YouTube, hopefully in a slightly higher quality recording afterwards as well. Been playing around in the background tonight. We'll get that up tomorrow or by Saturday at the latest. But until then, all folks, have a good week, a good weekend, and we'll look forward to seeing you back next Thursday night for the season finale of this 19th championship here from the V8 Veterans.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.